Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 3rd Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Seth, can we get a roll call?
Yes, sir. John Black.
Here.
Travis Oakley.
Here.
Raymond Layton.
Here.
Tim Shout. Margie Dunn.
Here.
Marcus Simmons. Pat Doherty.
Here.
Sonny Luzo.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
So it was brought to my attention before we get into the new business. I'd like to get a quick staff brief on the old business, the discussion of the land use plan update. Is there any?
Oh, we're going to add that to the last item of business.
Okay.
Under, so it'll be 3A, discussion of land use.
3A.
Matt Shelley, our acting director, is going to talk to us.
Gotcha.
Mr. Acting Chair, if it's not offensive to the board, we'd like to add that to the agenda of that discussion.
Yes, ma'am.
I make a motion we add the staff update of the land use plan as agenda item 3A.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Okay. John Black.
Yay.
Travis Oakley.
Yes.
Raymond Layton.
Yes.
Margie Dunn.
Yes.
Pat Doherty.
Yes.
And Sonny Luzo.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
All right, moving on to item A. Weyehaeuser Company, McKim Creed are requesting final subdivision plan approval for the Thales Academy at West New Bern. This property is located on approximately 8.86 acres and is located in the C3 commercial district. The site is located north of US Highway 70. Seth, can we get a staff brief on that?
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. Yep, so the site's located on US Highway 70 in the West New Bern development. It's one lot. There's going to be 205 plus or minus feet of proposed public streets, and the City of New Bern will provide utilities. So we've got the same maps we saw last month. The site's going to be up here. And I think we've got a more updated map here. The Thales Academy at West New Bern met the requirements of the City of New Bern Departmental Review Committee on the February 25th meeting. Received general plan approvals from the City of New Bern Planning and Zoning Board on April 5th. The staff has reviewed the proposed subdivision and found that all the technical and legal requirements for final subdivision plan approval have been satisfied according to the City of New Bern Land Use Ordinance. Further, the performance bond for the Clock Road improvements has been accepted by the City Attorney's Office. Therefore, final subdivision plan approval of Thales Academy at West New Bern is recommended. And we do have representatives of the application with us tonight if you have any questions.
Did you folks enjoy it?
Sure. Cliff Parsons, Morgan Smith, here on behalf of Weyehaeuser. This seems like deja vu. We were here just last month with the preliminary plat approval. Nothing has changed. Weyehaeuser continues to appreciate your support of the project. This is the next phase of the West New Bern project, and I'll be glad to try to answer any questions you may have.
Any idea when it'll start?
You'd have to ask the folks at Thales that, but I believe it's probably fall before any kind of groundbreaking would be done from what I would guess.
There's always no one know when something's going to be built.
They still have to go through the special use project.
And that application got
Special
turned in
permit.
yesterday on time, so
Okay.
the special use permit will go to the June, or this May Board of Adjustment meeting.
Any further questions from the board? All right, at this time, if there's no further questions from the board, I'd like to find out if someone can make a motion.
I would like to make a motion to approve the plan as submitted before us.
One brief question I have before, and I'll second that, but before I do, were there any department review comments?
No.
No comments.
It's
Okay.
very, very straightforward with the subdivision.
Second motion.
I have a motion and a second. Seth, can we get a roll call?
John Black.
Yay.
Travis Oakley.
Yes.
Raymond Layton.
Yes.
Trustee Dunn?
Yes.
Pat Doherty?
Yes.
Someone move that.
Yes.
Motion passes. Marcus here, I didn't know Marcus was here, all right. Marcus.
It's behind me, I'm a big fat guy.
Okay, and on.
All right, motion
That's the
passed.
motion passed.
Okay. All right, moving on to item B under new business. Kip Peregoy is requesting general subdivision plan approval for Aston Subdivision at Carolina Colors, a 127 lot subdivision. This multiple phase development is located on 48.54 acres in the R8 residential district. This site is located off Landscape Drive. So can we get a tap over, please?
Absolutely, thank you. Again, this is in Carolina Colors on Landscape Drive between Old Airport Road and Waterscape Way. Let's see the map this second. Proposing 127 lots, 12.15 acres of open space, and 5790 linear feet proposed streets with the City of New Bern utilities. We've got the arrows sort of on either end, but it's these three parcels. This is Landscape Way, we've got Waterscape with the traffic circle over here. Old Airport coming this way. So I'll put the cover page on here just because you can see the tires up a little better. So, Aston Subdivision Carolina Colors received conditional approval from the City of New Bern Departmental Review Committee from the March 25th meeting, March 25th, 2022. Staff has reviewed the proposed subdivision, found that all the technical and legal requirements for general subdivision plan approval have been satisfied according to City of New Bern Land Use Ordinance. For general subdivision plan approval of Aston Subdivision and Carolina Colors is recommended. For the RC, I just had a couple minor changes to the map needed. I talked to Public Works again. The only thing that's kind of waiting on this getting the stormwater permits. This project had been before the board a few times in the past 10 years. And for whatever reason with the market, they decided not to go with it, and the stormwater permits had expired. But they would need all those before they can start construction anyway. So staff doesn't have any objections to approval.
At this time, do you see any pending holdups with getting that accomplished?
No, because they've already all been permitted before. They just had to get them updated.
Just gotta get them updated. Is there anybody here from the public that would like to make a comment
You're right.
on item B?
Kip's over there.
I'm here, but I don't have to make any comments unless you have questions.
Are there?
Do we have any schools going to come in to help take all these kids that's going to be going to all these places?
Oh, the what?
Are we going to get a new school?
No. But one of the things that this neighborhood has always been in the master plan to be basically starter homes, and there will be a sidewalk all the way down Landscape Drive to the school. So the concept was old time kids walking to elementary school.
That would be nice.
So that's going to be starter home, so that's going to just be clear cut.
Yes, it will have to be. When you do cluster development with 5-foot sideline setbacks, you don't have any room to save any trees. There will be a berm down Landscape Drive, just like it is on the other side, that will be vegetated and planted and landscaped, so that you'll have continuity on both sides of Landscape Drive. The stormwater permit that Seth talked about, all the water out of this project, stormwater goes to the lake, the 26-acre lake. And so it's really not a new stormwater permit, it's a modification to an existing stormwater permit that's been around for a long time.
So I have only two quick questions. One was about the stormwater permit. Is that process for modifying or renewing that underway?
Yes.
Yep, okay, it is. And then the second thing is under the electrical comments from departmental review, or department review, number 5, they asked for copies of final site plans with lot numbers and layouts of road and parcels. Has that been provided, or is that not
I'm not
quite
sure
ready
yet.
yet?
I need to check.
Got me, but we'll all ultimately have to be, because they
Sure.
provide the location of the conduits under the streets that we have to install.
Right. Okay. That was the only two questions that I had from the department review comments.
I'm having trouble orienting myself, because where is this?
See the school, the green top? That's the school.
Oh, that's the school, okay.
Right. So this is right behind it. You got Waterscape, which is the other cut through.
Okay, I know what you mean.
I can open up Google Maps if you'd like to.
No, I'm fine.
At this time, are there any other questions from the board?
There's always, after it rains, there's always water coming off that property. Do you know this, and what are you gonna do about it?
There's more coming off of this
Yeah,
property.
it's always, a couple of months ago, I called the city engineer and asked him if there was a water main break there, and he explained to me that it's just water, when it rains, water accumulates there and it rolls over the curb.
It's gonna go into that lake.
Well, if it goes over the curb, it goes into the storm drain system along Landscape Drive and
Yeah, yeah,
under, into the,
but I mean,
it's
I
a
guess
flat piece of land.
but,
It's a flat piece of
yeah,
land.
and it's probably.
And there are internal drainage systems in that piece of land that actually bring the water up to the, it goes under the road up by the school property line. That's the main drainage outlet for it. And then down on the other end, there's also pipes under Waterscape Way, the other side of the traffic circle that drains the lower portion of that piece of property. They're all old Weyehaeuser ditches, forestry operation ditches.
We call them fire lanes.
Okay.
Add them to the school.
Are there any other questions regarding item B?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the subdivision general plan for Aston Subdivision at Carolina Colors as presented.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Seth, can we get a roll call?
Absolutely. Don Black,
Hey.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Raymond Layton,
Yes.
Margie Dunn,
Yes.
Marcus Simmons,
Yes.
Pat Doherty,
Yes.
and Sonny Luzo.
Yes,
Motion passed.
Moving on to item C, Robert Chiles Engineering on behalf of RAJDC North Carolina Properties is requesting general subdivision plan approval for a two-lot subdivision located on 6.1 acres in the I-1 Industrial District. This site is located at the intersection of Red Robin Lane and Garden Center Way. Seth, can you get an overview?
Yes, sir, thank you. Again, it's two lots. They're going to be, tract 1 is 4.35 acres, tract 2 will be 1.73 acres, no new streets, the city utilities. So it's right over here next to Lowe's. We've got Garden Center Way over here. I believe it's Garden Center Lane, Red Robin Lane, MLK. I believe the applicant, the property owner, the intent is to sell this off and probably be seeing a car wash coming through site plan review in the not too distant future. Preliminary plat. I'm just going to call it 1702 Red Robin Lane. The division of 1702 Red Robin Lane, RAJDC NC Properties, received conditional approval from the City of New Bern Departmental Review from the April 22nd, 2022 meeting. They have been reviewed the proposed subdivision, finds that all the technical and legal requirements for general subdivision plan approval have been satisfied according to the City of New Bern Land Use Ordinance. Therefore, general subdivision plan approval for 1702 Red Robin Lane is recommended. And Robert Chiles, or Pete, is here representing the application if anybody has any questions.
So you're gonna do away with the steel building and what used to be the beer place and make a subdivision?
No, the building, there was a building there. We're cutting the,
In two places?
you can see the old building footprint there. We're cutting it right through here.
Okay.
Just subdividing the property.
And just cutting, making two out of one. It was originally two tracks back in the dawn of time.
Uh-huh.
Pete, do you anticipate a rezoning application for either of these
No,
coming through? Okay.
that's kind of beyond what we're,
Where you're at
He's
this point.
requesting a subdivision general plan.
Your intent is to build a car wash?
My intent is to divide the property.
Yeah, so
What the buyer, what the seller does,
Property.
and who sells it to the buyer. I believe that's their intent, but I don't have any control or input in that one way or the other.
Yep.
If that were their intent, it is a permitted use by right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Pete, for going over that.
No problem.
Are there any other questions from the board?
At this point, I would like to, can I introduce a motion to approve the plan as submitted?
Yes, sir, you can.
I'd like to introduce a motion to approve the plan as submitted.
second.
I have a motion and a second to approve item C on the agenda. Session, will you roll call?
Absolutely. Don Black,
Yes.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Raymond Layton,
Yes.
Margie Dunn,
Yes.
Marcus Simmons,
Yes.
Scott Doherty,
Yes.
Sonny Luzo.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving on to item D, under new business. Bo and the Wind has requested consideration of an application to rezone one parcel of land totaling 0.76 acres from C4 neighborhood business and R6 residential districts, split zoning, to C3 commercial district. The parcel is located on News Boulevard at an intersection with Median Avenue. The property is further identified as 8 TAC 243 TAC 16000. Individual parcels that underwent annexation into the city of New Bern. Development Services is requesting the zoning designation of R8 residential district for 3412 and 3436. Oops, I'm sorry, I skipped over, my bad, I apologize.
You're going ahead of
Got a little
yourself.
ahead of myself. The property is further identified as 8 TAC 243 TAC 16000. Can we get an overview?
Thank you. So the property is 0.76 acres. It is, it's right on News Boulevard. It's one of the rare cases where the zoning map split a piece of land. In the past, a larger portion of the property was a mobile home park. More recently, it's been used for storage related to the tire business next door, the same property owner. It's vacant now. I took this picture today, there's got a little truck sitting on it, but it's already fenced in. It's my understanding that the applicant wants to put in mini storage, which is permitted by right in C3. He came up, he's been talking to me about it for quite a while, so that's not due that he can forward that. If you can see in this zoning map, this portion is R6. And this portion up here is C4. You've got C4, a lot of C4 in the area, and then you've got R15, a little bit of R6 adjacent to this piece. And it is right on Midget Lane. So for the existing zoning, C4 neighborhood business districts established as a district in which the principal use of land is to provide for the retailing of goods and services to nearby residential neighborhoods. 6 residential district. The specific intent of this district is to encourage continued use of land for residential purposes, allowing single-family, two-family, multi-family dwellings, smaller lots, 6,000 square feet minimum, and then certain compatible non-residential. And what they're proposing, the C3 commercial district, established as a district for offices, personal services, and retailing of durable and convenience goods. The district will generally be located along the city's major radial roads. Because the districts will be located in high volume traffic arteries, ample off-street parking, and controlled traffic movement, and appropriate appearance, including suitable planning, should be provided. Give you guys a general overview of what's allowed in C3. Most of the multi-family or residential is still allowed. High traffic retail, which is like a normal retail store. Low traffic retail are big items like refrigerators or bedding, don't have a lot of people in it now. Car wash, restaurants, offices, enclosed storage, gasoline sales, automobile sales and service. So the surrounding zonings we talked about, C4 neighborhood business to the north, bounded by Midget Ave to the south directly, and then residential R15 beyond the right-of-way. To the east, bounded by Nice Boulevard, and vacant land across the street, C4 beyond the right-of-way. And directly adjacent to the property to the west is the mobile home park that this, I believe this used to be a part of. And the city utilities we provided. So the regional land use plan said that a property has a high suitability for development, is shown as developed with a mix of residential and commercial uses. There are no known environmental hazards on the property. And according to the floodplain mapping program, this property is not in the 100-year or 500-year floodplain. So the recommendation, the proposal to rezone the subject property C3 district consistent with the character of adjacent land uses to the north. As we talked about, the existing tire storage and service center, which is a permitted use in C3. A commercial zoning classification to the north and east across Nice Boulevard. The site is separated from the adjacent residential to the south on Midget Avenue, a public street. The adjacent mobile home park to the west will be screened by an opaque buffer in any commercial development scenario, which is a requirement through the site plan review process, required by the zoning ordinance. Staff found the proposed rezoning to be in public interest and consistent with the city land use and transportation plans due to the parcel being a split zone currently and only moderately suited for residential development. The staff has no objection to the approval of this rezoning. I'll go back to that.
But if we're ready for board discussion.
Yes, sir.
I've got a couple of questions, Seth.
Yes, sir.
So I think the use, I realize this is a rezoning, but just kind of thinking ahead a little bit and talking through this, the use that is identified by the applicant would be, I think, 10.210, is that?
Be the enclosed, the mini storage.
Yep, all storage within enclosed, completely enclosed structures.
Yes, sir.
I think that's 10.210. Okay, so no issue there.
So no outdoor storage.
No outdoor storage. That's the key, because if we get outdoor storage, that kicks it to 10.220, which then requires a special use permit in C3. And so
That's right.
I don't have a problem with the rezoning, and so I'll happily make that motion when we come to that. I just want to make sure that when that comes back around to staff, that everybody is thinking through that if outside storage is included, that kicks it to a special use.
Yeah, absolutely does.
Okay. Under C3, and it's not permitted. Either of those uses is not permitted under C4, which is the adjacent zoning. And C3 and C4 are compatible, so no issue there. That's really my only comment. Other than that, application looks good to me. I yield the floor.
It's just so ugly to see something like that right beside residential. I'm sorry. I would not want to be living next door to it.
At this time, are there any other questions or comments from the board?
I'm curious, how does it affect the assessment of the property? Would the assessment increase, or would it impact the assessment at all?
Yeah, I'd have to check with the county tax office. I'm not sure about any impacts of this. You're talking about the value going up if it's C3?
The taxable value, yes.
I don't know.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I think that does carry a different, C3 carries a different,
I think it would increase the tax value.
well, I don't know about value, but it does carry a different rate. But I would think with the land being vacant, whatever improvements theoretically would increase the tax value, would be my guess.
If there are no more questions, I would like to have a motion to approve agenda item B, whereupon there is a rezoning application.
Just in the spirit of clarity, I think, Mr. Black, your motion is to recommend.
To recommend passage of agenda item B,
To rezone it?
Okay.
to rezone that.
Yes.
Recommendation of the Board of Aldermen.
Yes, this would, as is a rezoning, this would be a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen that they should approve the rezoning of this parcel as laid out before us.
Okay, I will second that.
I have a motion and a second for item D. Seth, can we get a roll call?
Yes, sir. John Black,
Yes.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Raymond Layton,
Yes.
Margie Dunn,
Yes. Not to-
Marcus Simmons,
Yes.
I have no choice but to say
Pat
yes.
Doherty,
Yes.
and Sonny Luzo.
Yes.
Not all, you always have a choice.
So, motion to recommend
Not
approval
here.
passes.
All right, moving on to item E, Development Services is requesting consideration of two initial zoning designations for individual parcels that underwent annexation into the city of New Bern. Development Services is requesting the zoning designation of our 8 residential district for 3412 and 3436 Old Airport Road. Seth, can we get an overview?
Yes, sir. Typically, when a property gets annexed, an initial zoning is part of that process. And for whatever reason, it was not done with these two pieces. R8 residential district has been identified as consistent with the character and adjacent land uses and zoning classification. You can see here, these are the two subject properties. Got a great deal of R8 behind R15 in the south. In discussions with the property owners, they would very much like to have R8 go through the proposed zoning. R8 residential district is designed to accommodate single and two-family, multifamily dwellings, a minimum of 8,000 square feet per lot for one unit and 4,000 square feet for any additional units. Multifamily density is approximately 10.6 units per acre, based on a 5-acre tract. So again, allowable uses in R8 is single-family attached, single-family detached, duplex. Zoning to the north is county jurisdiction. South we have R15 residential district. East residential R8 residential district, and to the west North County. City of New Bern utilities. And this is why they went through annexation, was to get city sewer for the properties. For the proposed zone, the proposal to zone the subject properties R8 residential district is consistent with the character of the adjacent land uses and zoning classifications. Staff has found the proposed zoning to be in the public interest and consistent with the city land use interpretation plans. Staff has spoken with both property owners who stated that R8 is preferred. Staff recommends approval of this initial zoning. If you have to take any questions.
Airport Road, we've had issues with the water flow rate on one time. How is that process going, where they want to complete some sort of loop to improve the water pressure along Airport Road?
I'm not familiar with one of the old airport.
It's right near Sykes construction site through Water Ridge.
I think this has been correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Black, this is the project that I think the city engineer and several others have been working on to connect.
For that loop.
Yeah.
I do have an update about that if anybody's interested. I gave everybody a copy of the project plans. Spoke with Jordan actually this evening. The Southwest Water System Improvement Project is still moving along. The board approved establishing a project fund for the work a few meetings back. We currently have the construction plans complete, which I guess what you guys have got. And have submitted for the necessary NCDEQ permits. Once we get the permits back, which he hopes is the middle of this month, we'll advertise the project for bid.
So the easement issue has been solved?
Well, the low water pressure reports before ended up being related to a couple valve problems. So they're back up to 1,000 PSI. He's hoping it'll end up being 1,400 PSI when this is done, and toward the top of the system, 1,800. Or not PSI, but gallons per minute.
I understand that they're butterfly type valves or they gate type valves, do you know?
There was one that had it was something to do with electronic valve.
It's a gate valve.
They're gate valve?
Yeah, apparently a couple were faulty, so they went in there and kind of tracked back and figured out where the faulty parts were, and then went in there and fixed it, and then went back and tested the flow rate. It was up to snuff after that. But
And another item that Jordan let me know about. You've been working with the developers for Chambry, which came before us just in the last meeting or so, on the design of a new water system. And during the construction of this section, Jordan is planning on making a connection from Wilcox Road, the Wilcox Road water tank, through the Chambry section into existing Bayberry section, which is where you report that people having some issues. Making this connection will improve the system flushing capabilities, but will also increase water supply to the area. So he's still on track to bid the project in early summer, start construction later this fall. He said if anybody, I've got his direct line here, if anybody wants any additional questions. George is a wealth of information. He went through so many details that I don't understand. Totally keep up with most of it. One of the most important aspects, and I was asking him, what is it about this that takes so long? If you look at the map, front page here, the property goes through a large area of undeveloped land in Carolina colors. And to have this water line go through, Kip and the Overlook Holdings had to agree to a permanent plan of how, somewhat at least, how the property is going to be laid out, which took a great deal of going back and forth. Navigating. To give up their future flexibility on how they want to lay out subdivisions. So what they came up with is the path for a road that will someday go through, and this is going to go down along the edge of it. So it took a while to negotiate where that was going to go between the city and the Carolina Colors property owners, or Overlook Holdings. And then two, getting the water permits from the state is time consuming to begin with. He's hoping he'll have that May 15th. Okay.
Well, I appreciate him taking the time to run this ground for us. I mean, as a board, we were concerned about that, so I appreciate that.
So for the initial zoning requests that we have before us, I would like to make a motion that we recommend approval of the initial zoning for parcel ID 7-105-017 and parcel 7-105-020, both for the initial zoning designation of R8.
I second it.
Don Black,
Yay.
Travis Oakley,
Yes.
Brendan Layton,
Yes.
Marcy Dunn,
Yes.
Marcus Simmons,
Yes.
Scott Doherty,
Yes.
Sonny Luzo.
Yes.
All right, motion passes.
All right. Now I'd like to shift gears since we've conducted all the new business and go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Shelley. Give us a quick land use plan update, if you don't mind, sir.
Sure.
With that, I got a memo of the board, Scott. That's the dates we talked about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have had some email communications with the consultant, but only with regard to the deadlines in the schedule.
So with that in mind, it's clear that he needs to have the plan done by, the final version of the plan, done by May 24th in order to submit that to you for your special, soon to be called special meeting on May 31st or thereabouts, depending how you decide. And then once you've had your meeting and had your recommendations, then it will go to the aldermen. And their deadline is June 3rd in order to be presented at their June 14th meeting for a call for, I'm sorry, no, for the June 14th meeting for their public hearing. Right. And then hopefully it's either adopted at that meeting, or if something comes along the way, we have provided in the plan to still have one more meeting in June with the aldermen to allow for something to come up, and then we have a cushion, so to say, so that they could adopt it then on June 28th.
So, Matt, is it the intent when, assuming staff receives the final draft on May 24th, will it be distributed to the P&Z board on that date as well, in anticipation of a special call meeting on May 31st?
I suppose, yes. It's
Okay.
either that day or the next work day.
Okay.
I was going to get it the day of.
I understand that there were supposed to be working sessions. How many working sessions have proceeded in development of this new plan?
So as far as I know, none. I mean, your session that you had with them was it?
That was an introductory session.
That's right. So we've had no success getting to talk to them about getting meetings with you or anyone else for that matter.
Was there any sort of performance bond that they were required to meet?
No. So their contract is basically the terms for the work, and so they did have an initial meeting, what they called a kickoff meeting, even before your meeting, and then your meeting counted for their contract as a work session. So it's quite possible that that might be it.
Is there a legislative deadline for approval of this by the city? I presume
Yes,
there is.
the end of June.
End of June.
Have you seen any drafts yet of their work?
No.
That's been done?
I've just communicated with you all of my information.
Latest and greatest.
So, but at least they have agreed to the schedule. I mean, if we had not even heard anything, we would still be wondering. So, you'll also get to see their presentation at your next meeting.
Yeah, but it's.
So there's no time in there.
No time to review.
Exactly. So there'll be no time if there'll be any corrections or anything before we have to push it down the line.
Kind of like you're invited to a shotgun wedding.
Well, so I think what I would anticipate is, I mean, that's a pretty limited amount of time to review the document, but
Yes.
you can review the document, and if we have any
Serious.
revisions that we feel are necessary, that can be a contingency of our recommendation to approve.
That's correct.
Or if maybe we don't like it, maybe we say recommendation not to approve. I wouldn't think that would happen, but we can make those contingencies for the Board of Aldermen to review, and then they can choose how to deal with them, how they choose to deal with them.
That's correct.
I mean, I know I feel the same way, but I think it's the schedule is what the schedule is at this point, and so we'll have to deal with it as a group.
If the planning department approves it, are we compelled by the zoning board laws that we have to approve it as well?
No,
This is the planning board.
yeah.
Yeah, if I mean the development services, if the staff approves it, if it meets all the.
So we're not compelled to recommend approval. So we're obviously not the final say, it goes to the Board of Aldermen. We could recommend that they not approve it.
But this sort
That
of
would seem unlikely, given the legislative deadline that we're up against here. But
the Board of Aldermen won't have time to
right.
make any revisions either.
Well, and I would presume that the Board of Aldermen is likely to see it on or around May 24th as well.
Yeah.
Just a guess. But,
They're gonna be probably looking at it, right?
yeah, so, okay.
This comes up once every 10 years, I understand?
Approximately.
Give or take.
Mhm.
And it can be changed, I heard there's like a living
Yes.
document?
That's true. It can be changed after the fact.
Right.
Mhm, Yeah.
How difficult is that?
Thanks for the update.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you.
It would come, any proposed changes would come before this board as a recommendation to the Board of Aldermen.
At this point in time, are there any other questions, concerns, comments by any of the board members?
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Okay, I'll second that.
None opposed, so moved.
All in favor?
Aye.